All right, y'all. Welcome to Old Fashioned Sit Down. My name's Trayvon. I'll be your host, co-hosting with.
My name's Cole, and I just realized he called this old-fashioned because I'm the old guy. Thanks, Trayvon. Thanks.
Well, y'all, I've been waiting to do this. I'm going to just give y'all a spill on, I've been wanting to do this for so long. It's just I've never been 21 to drink an old fashioned. So cheers. My birthday was last week. We also hit 9,000 subscribers on the channel. So cheers to that. Okay.
Man, you make a good old-fashioned.
So at the beginning of the video, you obviously saw me making an old fashioned. It's funny. I remember a time, this is a few years ago, when I first met you, I made you an old fashioned and you were like, that's a pretty great old fashioned.
Yeah, honestly, you bring that up. I remember that, and because they had a different way of making old fashions, and I kind of was being a little snobby about my old fashions. And I thought, they said, Trayvon, making them an old fashioned. I thought they were just throwing you under the bus. And you made it. And I was like, wow, that's a good old fashioned. So
right.
Here we are 2 years later.
Right. And we just started chopping it up. It's funny. I lived in one of your properties for a couple months. So.
Man, for whatever reason, your alliance or alliance to Grand Prairie and your contributions to the firehouse, you became a friend of mine. So you were easy to talk to and easy to be friends with. And so I didn't even think twice about the way you reacted to it because we just kind of got along. So
right. And I wanted to call this old fashioned sit down
because you got an old man with you.
I don't know. It's because old fashions has always been something I'm like, when I turn 21, I'm going to drink old fashions.
All right.
That's like my favorite thing. So I'm like, let's just start a segment in my channel called Old Fashioned Sit Down. I mean, obviously everyone on my channel is used to music reactions, other stuff I do like vlogs, coffee, but it's always good, I feel like, to experiment.
Well, I bet you review old fashioned music, and I bet you review some old fashioned coffee maybe. So
right.
This is right up the alley.
Right.
Now you got an old fashioned old man.
Right up the alley. So I wanted to co-host with you because personally, I feel like whenever we talk, we always dig in deep. Ooh. Like every conversation we have is like super intentional. I feel like we always talk for more than like 5 or 10 minutes. Even sometimes when we feel like the interaction should be short, I feel like we always end up talking for a while.
Yeah, I think I recognize that, and maybe we need to mark this so you can cut it out, but in your Christian belief, we're sitting here having a drink and Christian, but that's probably the biggest mistake with a lot of Christianity is suddenly you can't drink. Don't forget, I'm not preaching here, but Jesus turned water into wine. It's not saying it's okay to
Amen.
drink, but he said, hey, you guys are here celebrating a good time, the union of two people, and you could no longer have fun because there's no wine. His mother came to him and said, Jesus, if not now, then when? Boom, turn water to wine, and the party kept going,
Amen.
And he wasn't telling everybody to get drunk. He wasn't telling everybody to do bad things when you get drunk. He was just saying this is a time of celebration, of a joyous occasion, and he wanted people to have fun. That's my interpretation, and
right.
I welcome your interpretation, you, Trayvon, or anybody who's listening. So, and that's why we get into it, man, because I think you understand, and this life is an interesting one, and it's good to get perspective. All right, I'm gonna do one more perspective. Boy, you start getting perspective from each other. Young 20-year-old black man, 19-year-old black man when I met you, a 40-year-old man, white man. Color's one thing, but age difference, generation difference, man.
Right.
For two people to sit there and get along and gain each other's perspective, I think is pretty powerful. So I appreciate you letting me give you my perspective and letting me understand your perspective. So
yeah, and it's funny. It's like 2 years after we've known each other, we both just figured out that we both believe in God. It was so random. You were like sitting over there, and I'm just like, we just so happened to talk about Gateway, and you said you go to Calvary,
across the street.
Yeah, and it's just interesting that it took 2 years to figure that out. But for me personally, when you first met me, I was early in my beliefs. So I wasn't all the way there. Just, it takes time. It's a journey. It's an everyday journey still now to this day.
Yeah,
but
figuring it out. And that is the journey, figuring it out. Like, what is this? If you haven't dealt with it before, or you have dealt with it before, you're still trying to figure it out.
Right.
That's why Jesus spoke in parables. It wasn't this definite one thing. Yeah, thou shalt not kill, but Jesus spoke in parables because everything kind of applies specifically, and you got to kind of break it down to each individual situation. You're not supposed to drink. No, you're not supposed to get drunk.
Right.
So you ask a question about drinking.
That's also my thing about drinking. Like, I know I'm 21 now. I mean, I've had the opportunity to drink. I mean, it's always there, being a bartender, being around people who's older. For me, I'm not drinking to get drunk ever. Just have a couple. Don't abuse it. That's my one thing. Don't abuse it. Don't abuse drinking alcohol, because that could lead to addiction. That could lead to a lot of things.
And we can all agree addiction's no good.
No good at all. You could get addicted to anything, literally.
And if you drink and you get addicted, then I'm going to tell you don't drink.
Right. Of course. Like, and you even, like, personally, you even set a good example. Whenever you come here to drink and I serve you, you don't drink too much.
Well, and I think one or two times I might have had one or two, and I'm like, maybe no, I'm good.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Like, you know your limits. It's
important, man.
Right. So y'all, this is the introduction episode.
This is a Christian theology episode, is what we meant to say.
Yeah, this is the introduction episode. From now on, we will have a guest. Maybe sometimes we won't. Maybe we do this every now and then, every few episodes. But we will have a guest, interviewing them, getting their perspective on life, like just their journey. Like, I'm sure me and you, we both have so many stories we can tell. And I feel like we should dive into that a little bit. You grew up in Grand Prairie.
Yeah.
Tell me about middle school, high school.
Yeah. Well, I'm a talker and I can talk your ear off. But,
do it.
But there is an element here of we're at Firehouse Gastropub in Grand Prairie. This was a literal firehouse, or Fire Station 1, the oldest fire station in Grand Prairie. And I grew up about 3 blocks from here. And, I consider myself today a fairly successful guy, but, man, I ran around barefoot. I rode my bike right across the street here, and it was my dad did buy me a nice bike at one point, but it got stolen immediately because the neighborhood we grew up in was just a dangerous neighborhood, more or less. And my uncle gave me a bike he kind of put together. It was so funny. I mean, it was the ugliest piece, but that one never got stolen. So, right. Right here, Austin Elementary, Eisenhower Elementary, Adams Middle School, Grand Prairie High. I mean, just right here. And right. People say, why don't you go anywhere? It's like, man, I've traveled, but when I became an adult, I started a business. I was blessed to have somebody inspire me to start a business. And through that business, you want to stay local. And so that kept me home. As my
that business?
I sold insurance for 17 years.
Okay.
I'm a real estate agent now, and I have been for a while, but that's more my passion. Real estate is just something I really enjoy. Insurance is pretty interesting, but it has its ups and downs. And so I reached a point where I was going to probably lose the business if I didn't focus on it. So I chose to sell it. And so I didn't get rich, but I got money in the bank, and so am I going to spend it all, or am I going to be responsible and do good things? Through the business, I got involved with my city, and there was an opportunity to run for city council, and I knew the stars were aligned. I ran my butt off, and I won 70% of the vote in a 3-person race.
Wow.
And
so those other 2 people got like maybe 15% of people?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was like 11 and 19.
Wow.
And they were real cool, good dudes too. And, I honestly, the lesson there is hustle. Anything you do, there's a hustle, there's a grind to it. I knocked on doors every day. Hey, my name is Cole. I grew up here. I want to be your city councilman. What can I do to earn your vote? And that's all it took. If you knock on somebody's door and ask for their support, Now, they may Google you. They may try to find you. Are you Democrat, Republican? You this, that? Now, what do you think about abortion? What do you think about guns? It's like, no. This is city council, man. We're talking about guns. Sorry. We're talking about street repair. We're talking about police, guns. I was saying we're not talking about guns. We're not talking about all the other stuff. On that note, I'm not running right now. My space is up for election, and I'm not running again. And there's various reasons. I'll tell you, the quick deal is 18, 19, super excited about everything, involved in every aspect of it. And then 20, COVID hit. So we had 20 and 21 years of governing during COVID. And I mean, you can only imagine how difficult that is, the way our world turned upside down.
Man.
And then, 22, 23 was a whole nother element of governing itself. So in 2 terms, 6 years, I had 3 different worlds, to govern over. And I think I'd said, all right, that's enough. I almost like an efficiency thing. I got a lot done experience-wise in 3 years. And, of course, we can talk about the boring government stuff that we did. But so now my favorite thing, sitting here, post being in business for myself, post being city councilman, just turned 41 years old, and I'm like former councilman, former business owner. I kind of have the world at my fingertips. And so it's kind of fun to be in that situation and see kind of where life takes you from this point. Some may be a career politician. Some may want to sell insurance in their 70s or whatever. I'm not good or bad. I'm not saying that. But I've done those things, and I'm kind of curious about, what is next. And I think mostly the most important thing I've learned out of all of that is, investing in others.
Right.
Finding that happiness, choosing love. Here we go, preaching again. Love does. Love's an act. Love's a verb. What Christ tells us to do, love your neighbor. It's a verb. It's an action verb. It's something you got to do. You just can't say, "Oh, I love so and so. I love people."
Right. You got to show that.
You got to do it, man.
Right.
Patience, kindness.
So it's funny that you say give back, invest in others. For me, I grew up in Chicago, South Side of Chicago. A lot of times, never had my own room, my own bed. Yeah, never had my own room or own bed. Always went from house to house, shelter to shelter sometimes.
Wow.
And a lot of that taught me I want to get out of this situation. I don't want to ever be in the situation again. And I just want to make sure I can help somebody who is in my situation, help them out, show them a good example of what it could look like for someone who's made it out of that situation. My mom was a fantastic mom. She always made sure me and my little sister, she's 15 now, make sure we ate, make sure we never went to bed hungry, always made sure we were okay, which was the best role model I could have ever pictured for myself. That's not a celebrity, like someone who's right there with me, who I'm with every day.
Yeah, being there.
Right, being there.
Woo, just showing up.
She set the perfect example for what I need to be as a parent and what I need to do as an adult. Keep pushing on, keep walking, just keep going, it wasn't always.
When did you come to Texas?
2017, my freshman.
Wow.
So I've been a foster kid since I was about 9 or 10.
Yeah.
I've had foster parents. I lived in group homes, I would say. I think that's what it's called. Me and my sister, I live with my aunt and my uncle for the most part, though. I was able to stay with family.
Yeah.
God willing.
You told me living with your uncle.
Yeah, I moved here in 2017 with my uncle. Best thing that ever happened to me, honestly. This is where I found God. This is where I was able to finally play basketball.
Okay.
Grand Prairie High School. 3 years on varsity. Never played basketball before high school.
I didn't know that. Wow.
3 years on varsity. I was blessed with the best coaches I could ever ask for, best teammates.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't the best player in the world, but I worked hard, which is what I learned from my mom, is to work hard, give it everything I got. And I played 3 years on varsity, best record in school history my junior year. Was blessed to be a part of that team and just to be around those.
Got robbed. And the rest. And
Oh my! Were you at that game?
I watched it online.
Oh man, 1 point loss.
Duncanville, right?
Duncanville, yeah, it's crazy game. But I was blessed to be a part of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Grand Prairie had never went that far.
Never, man.
Never went that far, and I was on that team. I was blessed to be a part of that team.
As a Grand Prairie alum, you know, you see your team do win 2 games. You're like, oh man, you're like we got a chance now, and for you guys to do that well, man, it was so exciting. You know, the 2 seniors that did really well, and you had the freshmen. I mean, those guys. It was so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
I remember Joe telling me about Savion one day. He said, oh, and this guy, he's real good. He's a freshman. He'll steal the ball and dunk it. Right when he said it, boom, he stole the ball. Boom.
Savion,
I mean, I was just,
Savion's at Texas
yeah.
playing football, running back.
Yeah, running back, yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Like multi-sport athlete that good. And my junior year of high school that year, we were really good. Is also when that's the first time I ever went to church. We went to Gateway. I remember this. This was like around district time. We all went there as a team.
Oh, good.
I remember they asked us. It was a Wednesday night. Students is what they call it. We went there. They asked people to come up for prayer. Nobody went from the team. Nobody went. But I don't know. I just felt something tell me, go up there and ask them to pray for your mom. So that's exactly what I did. I was the first one to go up there. Then a couple more of them went. But I just felt something pull me there. Like, I wasn't a believer then. I barely even knew about God, but I know God told me to walk up there and ask somebody to pray for my mom.
Man, it's funny at the times he calls, you know. I mean, to be on a team, and you said you weren't starting.
No.
And you had a couple of guys that played Division I. You had Savion, who's at Tech now. And, you know, nothing against him at this point, but these leaders of the team, more or less.
Right.
And the guy on the bench gets up, goes down, and kind of changes the game a little bit, right? I mean, that's like when you're ready to be called up, you know, he kind of speaks to you at the right time, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and it sounds like going to Gateway in itself is something, but then stepping out and leading in simple morals. I mean, some moral responsibility to step out in front and be that leader for a team that is in the middle of a success run that needs a little bit of, I'm not going to say they needed checking, but it's important to include that.
Yeah. And it's also funny, the best player on our team, his name was Jalen Posey. He's at New Mexico State. He would invite me to church every Sunday.
Wow.
After that. And I would go to church with him.
Oh, good.
That was my only way of going to church, so I would go with him every week.
He didn't invite you before that?
He may or may not have.
But he knew at that point, when you're the one that stepped out, he said, I need to get, I said, we need to do,
Right, yeah.
brothers in Christ here, you know?
Yeah, he would take me to his church in Doubtworth across the street from the rec.
Wow, yeah, I know exactly.
I forgot the name of the church, but it's there still. Nice. That was like my first real, like,
St. John's.
I'm committed to this.
Isn't St. John's, was it?
I forgot the name, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm committed to this. Like, I didn't tell myself to go up there. God did. And from there on now, I would call that leader who prayed for me that night. He would pick me up for church every week. You know, and I just started going, and that just really did a lot of things for my life. I mean, I wasn't perfect. I'm still not perfect. Never going to be perfect, but that just started and built something in me that, like, God moved me to Texas. He moved me out of that situation. He helped me through that situation so I can ultimately give back the way I always wanted to, but his way, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. And, you know, I think about in that regard is, you know, you're here, you had every excuse in the world to choose drugs. You had every excuse in the world to choose theft, crime,
gang banging, any of that.
Yeah, I mean, you had every excuse in the world to do that, and you could have been that statistic, but for whatever reason, we don't know, and perhaps it's just simple as God chose us, but you know, you chose to love your neighbor. You chose to see the good in people. You chose to be out of that situation and put yourself in a better situation. And something somewhere motivated you, and perhaps it was just the darkness, the
hard times,
the instability that you said a while ago. You decided you did not want to be there.
Right.
You did not want that to be a part of you. That alone is amazing, and it seems, from my perspective, that has treated you right, and even in a good timing wise, like things have grown on that as you've continued to believe in those things and continue to say, I want to do good things, whatever good things you can define. That's taking you this one next step to being a better person, a more successful person. And golly, you're just getting started, my friend.
Man, it's crazy. And also, one thing that God put into my life was I went to DBU after I graduated high school.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you went to DBU.
Yeah, I went there I finished 1 year.
Yeah.
It got too expensive.
Yeah, golly, come
God
on.
willing.
Heaven on the hill.
They do this fair because to go to DBU, you have to do some service hours. Well, to get the scholarship. One of these scholarships, you have to do service hours. So I walked around all day for a couple hours looking at all these things I could go serve at. Then I walk up to this one stand, and this girl said, once you hear what we do in the community at Oak Cliff, you will drop everything in your hand. So she tells me everything they do. I dropped all the papers in my hand, and I'm like, I'm serving here.
Oh, wow.
So now almost 3 years, I graduated 2021. So yes, 3 years later, I've done 2 summer camps there, 3 spring break camps, and I volunteer there during the week sometimes.
That's the camp you were telling me about.
Yeah, it's called Youth World in Oak Cliff in a high-risk area. You got kids coming there, foster kids who are struggling, kids that their parents just want them to go somewhere after school,
Yeah.
I get to go sow into them whenever I'm there and just basically motivate them, love on them the way I wish somebody loved on me through those hard times, somebody outside of my family, of course.
You don't go to DBU, yet you still give your time and effort to this program that originally was for DBU.
Right.
But now you do it because of what you get out of it and what you're able to give back.
I bet you 90% of those kids who go there and volunteer are from DBU. They are.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, some of them work there now.
And that's awesome. And
that's awesome. But I just know that when I went there, the way I see those kids, the way they just want to be loved. They just want to be poured into, motivated.
Yeah.
That's just something I know I needed growing up.
Well, here we go. Jesus loves the little children, man. That's one of the most common things. I think the innocence of children is why I think the early teachings of Jesus he was with kids, and that's why the slogan "Jesus loves the little children," and that's why you were talking about your mother at one point about she was there, in whatever instance that was, sometimes just showing up, being there, and telling the kids you care is all the difference in the world.
Right.
And if you're able to go to this church camp, I feel like right now, I'm not going to say you're blessed. You probably are blessed.
Bro, I'm so blessed. I'm more blessed than I can explain.
I feel like just my relationship with me, but all the people at Firehouse and the people they say, hey, Trayvon, they're happy to see you, and it's a good relationship, and it's a positive moving forward. So in many regards, you're full of encouragement, right? So you sometimes think, oh, these kids hear this all the time, or yeah, you're just another voice, just another la la la, and you're like, actually, no. You go to this camp and you tell these kids, good job, go for it, you're doing great things. Sometimes that's all they hear.
Right.
I remember helping kids, work with kids. I've done that my whole life, and I almost stopped. I don't want to be that annoying voice that just said, do good things. And I kind of started realizing sometimes that's the only voice they hear.
Right.
And so just that week, just that one day, or just that one sentence that you say to them they'll remember that forever. Fast forward for me, a year or two later, after hanging out with some needy kids, if you will, and I see one at the grocery store. Hey, Mr. Cole, and they run up. And hey, how you doing? These are high school kids now,
right?
And they're acting like I'm sitting there going, wow,
it worked. What you did.
I can't believe that he remembered me, even in his attitude of whatever, even in his little like, how kids get, right? They're like, whatever, They remembered because 2 years later, he sees me in the grocery store and he comes running up. Hey, Mr. Cole, la, la, la.
I experienced that last week.
See, those small little things. And you wonder if it makes a difference. And then that happens. You're going, oh, wow.
Because you're just planting that tiny seed. Like, that's all we're trying to do. Plant that seed and let it blossom. Because ultimately, that's what somebody did for us.
Absolutely. And, even when the parents are involved, the parents are busy.
Right.
They're worried.
It's
about
hard.
The next meal.
This is the hardest time right now. And everything is so expensive.
Oh yeah.
Like, man, parents may be killing themselves working to provide. And
sometimes the kid just wants somebody besides their parent.
Right.
Assuming they have a parent.
Right.
Assuming they have someone that's providing for them. Even then, they just want someone else who's not just, and they don't realize that parent is just doing everything in the world they can, and they hear encouragement from another adult. It means the world,
Yeah. So, man, that was great. That was so good. But yeah, that's just what it was like.
When we were setting up, we were talking about Luka and Kyrie, and I thought we were going to have like a legit NBA, what the Mavericks need to go here. I guess that just tells you where the Old Fashioned Podcast could go.
Man, it's so much. We're talking about everything, just life. Man, Kyrie hit that floater with his left hand.
Yeah,
his left hand.
To say that the Mavericks have Luka and Kyrie. Especially go back 3 or 4 years when Dirk was hobbling up and down the court.
Poor Dirk.
It is like it was a great run and it was going to be fun. Then it's like, oh, we got Luka Doncic. Oh, he's shooting threes from half court. Oh man.
Ultimately, I hope nobody hates me for saying this, but ultimately and respectfully, Luka is better than Dirk. But this is what I'm gonna say. It's just. It's a different type of game. But what Luka does, he will be remembered more than Dirk, I will say. I mean, Dirk will forever be remembered in Dallas, but for basketball, NBA history, Luka is one of a kind. I've never honestly seen a player like Luka.
Okay.
But he has, everybody has a few holes.
Well, Dirk proved it with longevity.
Right.
Okay.
Of course, 20 years with the same organizations. It's only like a few players. You got Kobe, Dirk, Tim Duncan. I believe that's it.
That's about it. KG could have, but he went to Boston.
Yeah. And he got his ring.
Yeah.
He got his ring.
Yeah.
Like, man, Dirk.
Well,
that Dirk documentary is one of the best documentaries I've seen.
So, yeah, I mean, you got to understand, Trayvon, in 2011, you were like 1 year old. But this was me. I was like 30. I had been a Maverick. So you said, I got to remember what it was. Yeah. Come on. Okay. In 2011, you were like 1 year old, man. In 2011, for me, I was in my 30s. I've been watching the Mavericks since the days when they had Sean Bradley, dude.
I mean, Sean Bradley.
I mean, Sean Bradley's amazing, by the way, but he was just Sean Bradley, right? And so Dirk had been to the finals and lost to Dwayne Wade, and our hearts were broken.
They were up 2-0, 2-0.
And they came back in 2011. Listen, they beat Portland in 5 games, okay? They swept Kobe, defending champ Lakers, swept them so bad that Samaki Walker.
Wait, no, not the.
Yeah.
This is 2011 you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were talking about 2008 or 2000.
J.J. Barrera, who they got so mad at because he was whipping their butt. J.J. Barrera's going up for a layup. Samaki Walker, boom, bows him on the ground. The swept Lakers. Went to Kevin Durant. what's the dude from Houston? I don't even know where he plays
Harden
now.
and Westbrook.
Harden and Westbrook had a hard-fought series with them. I mean, and then
Wow.
LeBron just joined up with Wade and Bosh. And
First super team ever. Super team ever.
We beat the first super team ever. We're going to win 1, 2, 3, whatever. And we beat them first year. I mean, it was amazing.
This is so funny. They beat
made
the
fun
Thunder.
of Dirk because Dirk was sick one of the games, almost like Jordan's sick when Jordan had the flu in Game 6 versus Utah, and Dirk was sick, but they were like, oh, making fun of him, and he dropped like 40. I think I'm exaggerating now. But the point is how exciting it was to watch Dirk and the Mavericks won. And I mean, oh, dude. Dirk, right? Oh, you can't see this. This is, I'll stop talking right here. You can't see.
That's Dirk.
My phone is Dirk's fadeaway.
That's crazy. Man, but I will say it's funny. The next year, the Thunder went to the finals and gave LeBron his first ring.
Yeah.
They were too young.
Same team, right?
Yeah, same team.
Because they started splitting up very soon after that.
They went to the finals then the next year. Literally, Harden went off to Houston.
Yeah.
If they would have kept that big three together, man, that could have been a dynasty. That could have been the Warriors. But for me, my basketball came from, growing up in Chicago, 2008, Derrick Rose is the number one pick.
Is that
youngest MVP in NBA history? Like, Rose just came into the league as a force.
Well, he was his quickness, his movement, the way he would move the ball, the way he would cut the lane. I mean, I feel like that happens a little bit more now, but he was the first by far.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, those movements he made and the way he got to the court, I think that kind of led to his injury.
Yeah, for sure. Man, if he never got injured, man, Chicago would have had some more championships, I would say. But for me, just being in Chicago, knowing that I'm a kid just like Derrick Rose was, growing up in the same environment, almost the same area, and just seeing him just change his life, change his family's life. Because you'll always see Derrick Rose talk about his family.
Yeah.
His MVP speech was for his mom.
Wow.
Like you'll see that as a Chicago kid, and you're just like, I can do that. I can make it out in some type of way. It doesn't have to be basketball, but it can be something else.
Yeah, and there are a lot of lessons there that a lot of times that team that won or the MVP, those folks have some type of story or lesson in the hard work or someone that poured themselves into them, that it came down to the grind or not just some guys like, oh, yeah, I just lazily won. It's funny. Two guys, and this is, but you said them all ago, but two guys I hated most of their career until they retired, and I miss them deeply, is Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant. You know? Because I was Dirk, right? I just talked to you about. You saw excited I just got about.
That was
Dirk.
the West.
But yeah, it was like I hated these guys. I hated Kobe Bryant. I hated Tim Duncan. Even though I was a Spurs fan back in the day with the Admiral.
Right.
And even when Tim Duncan first came on, I was like, yeah, the Spurs are good. But as soon as we got Dirk, it was a thing to do. And as soon as they retired, I was like, oh, man, I don't get to watch them anymore.
Man, Tim Duncan is so overrated. He is a top 10 basketball player of all time.
You said he's over?
Under.
Oh,
I meant to say
yeah.
He's underrated because that dude and Greg Popovich, they dominated for 20 years. Like, I think last year, no, it was a few years ago, it was Greg Popovich, first time ever missing the playoffs as a head coach.
Yeah. He's got the other tall guy now.
Wembanyama, Victor.
Yeah.
Bro, and, that's what's keeping Pop coaching, I feel like, too.
Yeah.
Just seeing the potential and that he has potential to be the best player ever. Because I was watching the game last night. I'm just like, it's literally no way to stop him. He can shoot. He can post you up. He just has to get stronger a little.
Yeah, agility is tough at that size. But everybody's gotten bigger. The average size has gotten bigger, so he does have.
Yeah, the average size right now is like 6'6".
Yeah. He's got a good chance. It'll be fun to watch. I can't believe that's what Popovich. Just kind of like Mavericks getting Luka,
Right.
you know, they got a Wemby. You know
The
what I mean? We
second,
got that
like-
second wind of Star.
It's almost when I think about. I was talking to somebody about this. This is football. Justin Fields getting sent to the Steelers, but Justin Fields is technically a quarterback one, but he's getting sent to the Steelers, and he's going to play behind Russell Wilson.
Wow.
So somebody was saying that's bad. I'm like, that could be the best thing that could have ever happened to Justin Fields, playing under a quarterback that's won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's won a Super Bowl, who's won, who's been thrown under the bus, who's been doubted, and still in the league right now, starting right now. Because you see that a lot in football with the quarterback position, a few times. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, now Jordan Love in Green Bay.
Yeah. Jordan Love.
You see them playing under each other. I mean, Jordan Love, they beat the Cowboys. I'm sorry, but
You know, Trayvon, this is something that I'm going to have to get better at, and I have just recently started to. You know, I cut the cable 4 or 5 years ago, and it was crazy. You know, and cut the cable. Now,
Yeah.
I grew up poor. Look, man, I'm doing okay nowadays, but you know, I see a $150 cable bill. And I barely watch TV, right? So I mean, I'm seriously like, just my cheap I was gonna say a word, but so far we haven't been cussing. So my cheap butt, you know, I'm like, man, I don't need to pay $100. This was 5-6 years ago, right?
yeah.
And so with that went for 4, 5, and 8 regular access, which 4, 5, and 8, I call that 4, 5, and 8 is where the Cowboys play and the main sports play. And so like there went 4 or 5 years of like watching regular sports. I mean, I can't believe, like lately I've been realizing like, man, I've missed out on that like casual conversation about Justin Fields or who's the guy you just said plays for Green Bay? I didn't even know
Jordan
that.
Love.
So I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Who's
bro,
Jordan
it's funny.
Love?
I just started watching football, so that's something new for me too. But I'm just talking about that. We were talking about basketball, like
That
drafting that
coming
second generational player.
Yeah,
That's how it's been. I've been seeing that a few times with quarterbacks in the NFL. Like you get that backup quarterback comes in next after that legend retires.
Yeah, is that the importance of like a front office? You know, that brings in the new talent, brings in the new guy.
Yeah.
Because you get lucky on one guy, but if you bring it in a second time, suddenly it's like, oh, this ain't just luck. This is planned.
Like you're giving them time to develop under somebody.
You know, Donnie Nelson for the Mavericks, you know, he was always a European guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he got Dirk. You know, we had Tractor Trailer is who we drafted. Y'all, you don't know about Tractor Trailer.
I don't know who that is.
Boy, whatever. So Tractor Trailer is who we got out of college, and we were like pretty excited about that. And,
He was trash.
well, he ended up not being big, but we traded him up to get Dirk. We traded him. We gave him to another team so we could draft Dirk, and he was a high draft pick then. But then to go after Luka. Why didn't any other teams go after Luka? Well, Donnie had been so involved.
Luka wasn't drafted by the Mavericks. He was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks.
See, I didn't know that.
They regret that. I mean, Trae Young, actually, they don't regret that because Trae Young has given the Hawks everything Luka has given the Mavericks.
Okay.
The Atlanta Hawks have been to a conference finals. The Mavericks have been to a conference finals with Luka.
So did we trade for?
Yeah, they just traded. They just swapped
So we
them.
would have had Trae Young?
Yeah.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad, I would say. Did Luka get to play with Dirk? I forgot.
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah. When Dirk was hobbling up and down the court. Literally, dude.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he just stood back and shot.
Yeah.
Hey, man. 40 minutes. We said 30.
I know. We're had 40.
We're gonna do multiple episodes, right?
Yeah, of course.
Let's contain the material.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all. So this was the first episode of Old Fashioned Sit Down with Trayvon
And Cole. This is Cole, Big Daddy Cole. Wait, I'll come up with something before we get too many episodes going.
So the next episode we will have a guest. We don't know yet, but we're gonna plan it out and have a guest. We will probably be uploading maybe every Friday, I would say. Every Friday. And I'm super excited to continue this and to keep it going. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was fire.
Blast, man. Thanks for putting it together.
Man, this was a blast. We will have a guest next time. And you guys could even give us some topics to talk about in different episodes.
Yeah.
Something y'all want to hear us talk about from our lives or just about anything, sports, anything, music. Man, wait until we talk about music too.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
going to be crazy. But man, if you made it this far, thank you so much.
Yeah,
this
thanks,
was
guys.
Old Fashioned Sit Down, episode 1. See y'all next time.
See ya.